Hello, my dear friends. You're watching your weekly astrology horoscope. What's interesting about the upcoming week is that we start and we end the week with some quite intense energies. So, Monday is especially active day. We have three major aspects plus one minor. The weekend also seems pretty interesting because we have a couple of aspects as well, which are exact major aspects. And within the middle of the week, things are more like neutral, not something like huge happening or transforming. So that is kind of interesting. So I think it's worth noting. Another thing, which is also towards the beginning of the week, is an ingression of the sun. This is the only ingression we have this week, and the sun is moving to Taurus. So a brand new season is coming. And when the sun moves to Taurus, it's time for some practical results. Focus on concrete things, on stability, including material stuff, resources, money, taking care of the body. It's a great time to focus on practices that will help you to be more grounded, more connected to nature, the earth, and the resources which are available through connecting to the external world. So the ingression of the sun in Taurus is a time to think about those things, try to focus on them. And in terms of the qualities which are more helpful around this period, first of all, we talk about patience. So Taurus is the most patient, consistent sign. So that's what we also need to focus on within the next 1 month. And this can help us actually to achieve those practical, concrete results, to be more grounded, to stay in touch with reality as well. So let's get started now with Monday. So probably the most active day of the week, we have 4 aspects. The first one is a conjunction between Mercury and Uranus. So we might expect some interesting, exciting, unexpected ideas. It's a great time to experiment, to try to think out of the box, to find new solutions, to try something different, to allow yourself to kind of like go beyond what is most typical and safe, which doesn't mean to do reckless or dangerous things. I think it goes without saying, but let's mention it, of course. So it's not about being reckless, of course, but it's about doing the things that you know will bring you growth, but at the same time they are uncomfortable and you've been postponing or delaying or avoiding, or we are masters of finding ways and excuses to avoid those. So try this. You may have this enthusiasm and courage and motivation to do something new. And this is at the same time potentially very practical and concrete because the conjunction is in Taurus. So implementing different ideas, trying to do something concrete about them. Another Uranus aspect includes Venus. There is a sextile between Uranus and Uranus is under the rulership of Venus in this situation. So pretty nice, interesting connection. Especially good one for financial stuff, for, again, trying something new in this area. Maybe even taking some kind of risks related to financial stuff, but also spending money on things that you like, things that you would enjoy, and generally to feel joy of connecting with your resources. Of course, also this can be a great aspect for love, relationships, dates, some positive surprises. So it seems like Monday is pretty active when it comes to emotional stuff, but also practical, financial, even business stuff. Pretty intense. And speaking of intense, on Monday we also have a square between the Sun and Pluto. So that can make things really extreme, intense, important. And we may need to use our full potential to overcome something, to transform something. It is possible to have some kind of power struggles or even confrontations, especially with authority figures. So be mindful about this. And another thing which we also have is a quintile between Mercury and Mars, which can activate the mind even more and is wonderful for taking action on your ideas. So the mind can be extra productive, active, and kind of like alive. The last thing for Monday, I promise, is the moon, which is in Scorpio. So this position of the moon combined with the Sun-Pluto square, of course, resonates and makes things quite intense. So honestly, the worst thing we can do on Monday is remain passive. Like, that would be potentially the most meaningless and potentially challenging choice we can make, because the energies are too intense. And instead, what would be much wiser is to get active and to do something which requires lots of push and energy and strength and motivation and transformation and all of those things. So Monday, please don't spend it on the couch. Do something. Next, Tuesday, we have an ingression of the Sun in Taurus. So this is the beginning of Taurus season, and as I already mentioned, it's time to think about more practical things, to stay more connected to the earth, to reality, to slow down a little bit, and also to think about how you can turn your actions into some concrete results, or how you can kind of like close the gap between action, 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 but then what? Like, what should be, after what should come like a concrete result? So during Aries season, we tend to be active, to start new things. The energy is definitely rising. Now, first we need to slow down a little bit, but also to shift the focus, not just from action, but to what exactly we want. So result orientation. And the moon is in Sagittarius on Tuesday, so we can definitely feel a relief, like the tension should drop down and the optimism should raise, and overall we can feel kind of like more comfortable and I would say even more positive and optimistic. So Tuesday is really different from Monday. Then the next 3 days are kind of like more neutral. So Wednesday, Tuesday, Friday, no exact aspects except for the ones that the moon is triggering. So overall, you may notice that things are a little bit more neutral maybe, or we also have a little bit of time for integration of the intense energies that were coming before that. So on Wednesday, the moon is in Sagittarius, so we have this positive vibe and this great opportunity to focus on long-term goals. There will be a couple of squares with Venus, Neptune, Jupiter. So emotionally, maybe we can be a little bit more unsettled or frustrated or over-emotional. So be a little bit more mindful when it comes to your desires and personal stuff. But on the other side, the moon has a nice aspect with Saturn, which suggests that when it comes to logic, work, things that are like concrete and practical, we may handle them pretty well. So to put it shortly, focus more on business rather than personal stuff. you may have more results on Wednesday. Thursday and Friday are different because the moon will be in Capricorn. So the general atmosphere is quite serious usually at this point, and we tend to focus on business, or at least it would be nice to focus on business, work, responsibilities. Specifically on Thursday, we have positive aspects between the moon and Sun and Uranus. So very nice time to express ourselves, to do something different, to be more creative. But all of this should be in a very practical frame because the earth signs are very triggered. But overall, it should be a productive, nice time for concentrated work. That's about Thursday. Friday, still productive, still the moon in Capricorn, but there is a conjunction with Pluto. So there could be some intensity, some kind of a drama or exaggeration or feeling somehow triggered. So Friday is more intense, but we still have supportive aspects. So there is a trine with Mercury, which can really help with communication, with planning, with sharing our message or some kind of ideas. And there are positive aspects with Venus, Neptune, and Jupiter. So the day can also be pretty nice for emotional and personal stuff. But again, the approach should be very grounded. So in a reasonable way, you can kind of like do what you want or share your feelings with your partner or kind of like try to combine those energies and those approaches, the practical, reasonable position with also some emotional, considerate position as well. Interesting stuff, yeah. And then we get to the weekend, which is again more intense. So on Saturday, we have a conjunction between Mercury and the North Node in Taurus. This is very interesting because, again, the mind can be especially active and we may have ideas that can help us when it comes to our future. What would you like to work on? Which are your priorities? Is there something you want to learn? Is there something you want to improve when it comes to communication or friendship or financial matters, because the conjunction is in Taurus? So the mind is very active and potentially very productive. On top of that, on Saturday, the moon is in Aquarius, which can also support some kind of different vision, new perspective, orientation on the future. So Saturday is really, really different than the past 2 days, than Thursday and Friday, and the focus can be much more on the future. And lastly, Sunday, we have a square between Mercury and Saturn, so work stuff might be kind of difficult. In communication, we need to be more cautious. Overall, the logic may not be very clear, or we may kind of get lost if we try to focus only on this like practical side. But there is support coming from Neptune because Mercury is having a nice aspect with Neptune on Sunday as well. So what this combination can bring is difficulties if we try to be very practical, very reasonable, very serious, pragmatic, the Saturn style, basically. This will hardly work. But the Neptune energy is pretty balanced, so there is a flow there, which means that if we rely more on intuition, imagination, creativity, if we connect with others emotionally rather than to keep the boundaries and the distance, we can achieve much more. So for creative work, the day can be actually pretty interesting. And the moon is still in Aquarius on Sunday, so focus on something new, something different, something exciting. It's a great time to spend it with friends or with other people generally. So pretty interesting week, like very, very active beginning. Monday is like full of energy and shifts and transformations. Tuesday, there is like a shift, like the energy really starts to feel different. Then towards the beginning of the middle of the week, things are kind of neutral, so time for processing, readjustment. And then the weekend is also very interesting, especially for a new perspective, something different, like, yeah, pretty, I would say, rare combination. So that is my perspective and my advice for you for the upcoming week. Don't forget to go to marsstars.net for more free stuff or consultations. I'm preparing something revolutionary for you, which I will share very soon. So make sure to sign up for the newsletter. You can do that on marsstars.net, and you'll be the first to know when this revolutionary thing is ready to be shared. So thank you so much for joining me. I really appreciate you, and I wish you a wonderful week. I will see you very soon.